In this video, I want to revisit the theme of Ethereum flipping the market cap of Bitcoin. Now, this is something which was once the talk of the town, but now we mostly talk about Bitcoin flipping gold, which obviously can still definitely happen. But with the recent Istanbul upgrades successfully being pulled off and Ethereum 2.0 shaping up to be an absolute beast of epic proportions in terms of super nerdy blockchain tech stuff, I thought that it's time to re-examine the potential that the number 2 cryptocurrency might just one day be number 1. Now, you might ask, well, Lark, why Ethereum and why not, Cardano or EOS or a whole bunch of other different blockchains? Why wouldn't those be number 1? Well, at this point, it's incredibly hard to disrupt the network effect of the early starters, and Ethereum has a few years of lead time on all these other guys. Ethereum has basically got right out in front of the pack, and it's going to take a lot of work to catch up to them. Now, as a quick caveat, even if Ethereum never overtakes the market cap of Bitcoin, one thing that I think is near certain is that Ethereum will have significantly more value stored on the Ethereum blockchain versus Bitcoin. Now, this can happen, and the market cap of Ethereum can still be less than the market cap of Bitcoin. This is due, of course, to the proliferation of tokens on top of Ethereum. Fascinatingly, even if the value of Ethereum were to never surpass the value of Bitcoin in terms of market cap, and I truly believe that it has the capability to be able to do that, it is near certainty that the value of the assets secured on the Ethereum blockchain will surpass the market cap of Bitcoin. Really just blowing it out of the water, to be honest. We look at all the different stuff that can be built on top of Ethereum, because you can issue ERC tokens that represent billions of dollars in, for example, bonds, but could only require a few dollars of paying smart contract gas fees to code into existence, and only pennies to transfer between the owners. Also, if Ethereum were to overtake Bitcoin someday in terms of market cap, that does not mean that Bitcoin has failed, or that Bitcoin itself won't have a multi-trillion-dollar market cap. So don't worry, Bitcoiners. It's all good. I love Bitcoin. You guys know I love Bitcoin. But they have different value propositions. Ethereum has an amazing array of functionality that Bitcoin simply does not have, and which, if we're being honest, Bitcoin doesn't need all that garbage. It doesn't. Let's just look at a few of these different things. Bitcoin side chains, right? These offer functionality to run tokens on top of side chains, basically piggybacking off of Bitcoin's security. But you know what? Bitcoin side chains kind of suck. They leave a lot to be desired in their current state, since they are federated side chains, which means basically that access is permissioned based on a set of so-called trusted entities, right? And while you might see companies like Blockstream trying to make a really big deal about side chains and bringing tokens to side chains, they bring in a whole layer of trust that simply doesn't exist on Ethereum. You have to trust that the exchanges are going to be signing off on transactions, and to be honest, the functionality is quite limited in comparison to what we see with Ethereum, and they have a much smaller developer community, again, compared to Ethereum, and they simply do not offer the same value proposition as Bitcoin, even if they are using the Bitcoin brand to advertise their chains. Lightning also leaves a lot to be desired at this point, since the security of Lightning cannot be compared to the main chain of Bitcoin, and the current incentives model for the Lightning Network is not super awesome either. There is no way in Lightning Network's current state that you'd see something like a Maker DAO living on top of Lightning. Hundreds of millions of dollars of people's money on the Lightning Network. The security model just doesn't fit. It's great for small transactions, but for bigger stuff, we have to stop and re-examine a little bit. Now, Bitcoin maximalists just tell you to wait, but the reality is by the time Bitcoin gets any kind of truly decentralized, permissionless, secure token ecosystem, it's going to be a completely moot point, so why waste time trying to do it? Let someone else do it. Bitcoin doesn't need to do those things, and I really just don't understand why the Bitcoin developers are wasting all this time trying to build token functionality for side chains for Bitcoin when it just doesn't need it. Make Bitcoin better. You don't need all these side chains. Anyway, you know what I say? Let Bitcoin be digital gold. Let it be the best digital money out there. Let it be the most secure way to transfer money in the world. It doesn't need to do what Ethereum does. And it's pretty ill-suited to the task of doing the things that Ethereum does anyway. Look, we don't expect the internet to do what gold does. So why do we expect Bitcoin to become Ethereum? Doesn't make any sense. Both have amazing value propositions. Both are incredibly useful. And both of these have a seat at the future of crypto. And while Bitcoin maximalists might fight with everyone on social media and run around calling Ethereum a big old scam and all that fun kind of stuff, the reality is that Ethereum currently is absorbing the absolute lion's share of new value coming into the crypto economy. Yes, Bitcoin's market cap is much, much higher. But when we start looking at things like new value in terms of innovation, there's so much innovation happening on Ethereum. And a whole bunch of use cases that I'll mention in a minute as well are all being built on top of Ethereum. The technological agility combined with a strong network effect is going to continue to drive insane value into the Ethereum ecosystem. Bitcoin, meanwhile, languishes in terms of development when compared to Ethereum, if we're being absolutely honest about it. Lightning hardly has any adoption. There are only a small handful of tokens proposed for the federated sidechains, and of course, technical upgrades for Bitcoin are painfully slow, as well as being few and far between, which of course has its pros and cons, means that nothing gets broken with Bitcoin. It's very slow and steady, but it has its drawbacks. Also, the developer community for Ethereum is 4 times the size of Bitcoin. When we expand that out to include the token communities building on top of Ethereum, then the ecosystem truly dwarfs Bitcoin in terms of the people who are building on top of Ethereum. Just as an example, the recent Ethereum Istanbul hard fork, which has just been pulled off a few days ago successfully, it didn't destroy the community. They were able to upgrade Ethereum in a significant way without having some horrible contentious hard fork that crushes the communities and causes all kinds of drama. And that new upgrade, by the way, for Ethereum, pretty awesome, allows for amazing technical innovations like ZK rollups, which will allow for layer 2 scaling on Ethereum, supporting upwards of 3,000 transactions per second, which FYI is larger than Visa, all the while maintaining decentralization and privacy. Now let's take a quick look at just a few of the use cases for Ethereum. The first is gaming. Interestingly, the number of ERC20 transactions has actually surpassed the number of transactions done in Ethereum itself, meaning that there is more activity from what is built on Ethereum than of economic activity of Ethereum itself. And as exciting as that token activity is, the rise of NFTs, or non-fungible tokens, is already starting to have a massive impact across the Ethereum ecosystem. This is due to the popularity of games like Gods Unchained and their in-game items. We actually just saw recently a single card for Gods Unchained selling for $31,000 on the open market the other day, which is astonishing for such a new game. And actually one earlier sold this year for like $62,000, which is craziness. And what is so surprising about the rise in transaction volume and the value of the NFTs built on Ethereum is that there are still so few users, so few games on the network, and already is providing so much value. Most of the really exciting games, they're still in development. They haven't gone live yet. Now, the next big use case, of course, is decentralized finance, which, while not the exclusive domain of Ethereum by any means, has certainly found a very strong home on Ethereum. The overwhelming majority of decentralized finance projects like Maker, Compound, DYDX, Synthetics, Nexus Mutual, all these guys built on Ethereum. Now you have a few others like Kava and BaiDao, which are kind of rising up to cater to other chains, but they're not operational yet, and they have a lot of catching up to do to get to where the Ethereum decentralized finance projects are currently at. At the moment, we see 4.5 million Ethereum is locked up in decentralized finance. That is close to 4% of all Ethereum in existence, which is absolutely amazing, considering, again, we're so early. This is nascent technology. There are still just a small handful, relatively speaking, of users actually using decentralized finance products. There will be runaway growth in this sector in the coming years, driving huge demand, of course, for the underlying asset, Ethereum, to feed that market demand. Then there is the traditional finance world, all of which are starting to come onto the blockchain. Just a trickle at the moment, but it will be a flood in the coming years. We have massive banks like Santander, for example, issuing millions of dollars of bonds on the public Ethereum blockchain. Other enterprise members for Ethereum Alliance are like JP Morgan and Cyberbank. They've both been playing around with Ethereum in different ways. Of course, you have Ernst & Young's Nightfall, which is really aimed at allowing major institutions to be able to use a public blockchain with privacy and high functionality. This, of course, is paving the way for really just runaway adoption by businesses for Ethereum, which is amazing. Public networks will be incredibly powerful. The entry of these major financial giants will not just bring bonds, and the tokenization of bonds will be big. That'll be hundreds of billions of dollars, let's keep it real, but also the tokenization of a wide range of assets. Gold has an $8 trillion market cap. We can tokenize all that, throw it on the blockchain. And while we have a few gold-backed tokens already, like Digix, for example, or the Perth Mint, there is a lot of room to grow to have more gold coming onto the blockchain. Then, of course, there is real estate. Real estate is a $220 trillion market cap industry. That's all the real estate in the world. That's a lot of real estate. We already have some tokenization of apartments and other properties. But this will be ubiquitous in the coming years. Just those two use cases alone would be more than sufficient to bring tens of trillions of dollars worth of value to the Ethereum blockchain, tokenizing all this stuff and putting it on the blockchain, all that value locked up on top of Ethereum. And I haven't even started talking about stuff like derivatives or rare art or collectibles, or even, some of the crazier stuff that's been proposed by people like self-tokenization or tokenization of celebrities. That's where things start getting a little bit wild, but all very, very possible. Obviously, the use cases for fundraising via Ethereum with the ICO has not disappeared on Ethereum completely, but let's keep it real. The IEO on exchanges, that has drastically changed the market for Ethereum. Of course, we have stablecoins, which are finding a great home on Ethereum as well. USDT has found most of its value now transferred over to the Ethereum blockchain. We have USDC and TUSD and GUSD and Paxos and DAI and a whole bunch of others. They are transferring crazy amounts of value every day across the Ethereum blockchain, and they are only growing in relevance and growing in market cap. And we almost exclusively only have USD stablecoins at this point. We will see the rise in prominence of euros and yen and others as time goes on. And we are just scratching the surface of use cases here. Gambling, healthcare, IoT, data, voting, just on and on and on. It's crazy how much can be built on top of the blockchain and how much value can be stored there and how much cost savings that'll be. This is the new value layer of the internet. Now, of course, Ethereum does not need to handle all of this. Can and will other blockchains share some of that load? You bet your bottom dollar they will be. But Ethereum has a massive lead currently on any competitor, and a lot of value will flow to Ethereum. And yes, I agree. Ethereum desperately needs to pull off that upgrade and for it to be completely successful. And I am very confident that the team, all those developers, the 1,000+ developers working on Ethereum, can actually pull that off. Ethereum 2.0 is going to be an impressive bit of technology. Staking is about to change the economics of Ethereum in a major way as well. And just imagine tens of millions of Ethereum being locked up for staking. And tens of millions more Ethereum being locked up in decentralized finance platforms. Just imagine how scarce and how fast that scarcity will happen to find Ethereum on the open markets and what that will do to the price and the demand and the supply. It's crazy stuff. And if Ethereum is able to capture and hold second place with its hands tied behind its back, basically, with current transactions and throughput and all that fun kind of stuff, then just imagine what's going to be possible when Ethereum has upgraded to WebAssembly and implements sharding and is running a robust staking network with a large percentage of the total amount of Ethereum locked up. Now, considering all of that, is it possible that one day Ethereum will have a bigger market cap than Bitcoin? Yes. Is that bad for Bitcoin if it happens? No. Bitcoin can be in the number 2 spot or the number 3 spot and still be mind-blowingly valuable and still be super awesome. But in spite of all Ethereum has going for it, it currently only has around 12% of the total market cap of Bitcoin. So significantly less value in market cap. It only has around 1/3 of the trading volume as well, significantly lower mining rewards, again about 1/3 approximately. It also has much lower interest from no coiners, right? Compared to Bitcoin. If people know anything about crypto, they know about Bitcoin. Maybe Ethereum, probably nothing else. And it also has less infrastructure built around it in terms of payments and derivatives and institutional acceptance and all this stuff, but more and more that's happening. Fidelity just announced they're probably going to start offering Ethereum to their customers pretty soon. And Ethereum does have, of course, 4 times the developers working on the main chain alone, which is massive. That says that there is a big interest from the developer community to build on Ethereum, which is very, very cool. And look, if you are an Ethereum enthusiast and you like Ethereum now, well, it's only been up and running for around 5 years, then just stop and imagine where Ethereum is going to be after 10 years or 15 years. The current innovation and investment on Ethereum, it's only compounding. It's only building. It's only going to get to be more and more and more. Ethereum in 2025, wow, it's going to be a wild sight to behold. All these innovations, all these upgrades will have happened. There'll be so much more value, so many more tokens, so many games and decentralized finance platforms, all this exciting stuff. But what do you think? Do you think that Ethereum will overtake Bitcoin in market cap at some point? And is it bad for Bitcoin if it does? Let me know down below in the comment section. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video. You're freaking awesome. Really, really, really appreciate it. I really want to know your thoughts. I know it's a very controversial topic for some, so let me know what you think about it. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button to appease the almighty YouTube algorithm gods, and subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.